Kapooka in Wagga Wagga, New South Wales. So this is like about the 12th of December now, 84, and it was very late in the afternoon. It was early evening, maybe 6 or 7 p.m. when we got there, which I think was later than it was supposed to be. We're on this coach, you know. It wasn't an army vehicle. It was just like I think it was just like a contracted coach. It was about 40 of us, was there? Maybe more, actually. Probably 50. That was full. And it was really quiet. We first came through the gates. There's no one around. This is a really big, wide, open, spread open place, and you don't see many buildings until you drive for a while inside the base. So everyone's sort of gone quiet in the coach, you know, as they're checking out this place.
Yeah.
From memory, I don't even know if there was any sort of like leader or person in authority on our coach. I think we were just on the fucking coach and the driver knew where to go. From memory, it may have been, but I can't remember. But I was further down the back, I think, of the coach. Anyway, suddenly it stops. You know, we've driven for a while in there, and we've come near to some buildings, and it stops, and door opens, and this great big brick shithouse MP fella gets on, and this is where it starts, mate. So this is where the bullshit starts.
Uh-huh.
And so he just lets fly, you know, with his fucking rehearsed and often practiced speech of, you know, littered full of profanities and abuse. Have any of you cunts got any fucking weapons of any sort? I want them now. I'm talking about nunchuckers, throwing stars, pocket fucking knives, anything you fucking got. All that sort of thing.
Right.
Did you hear that?
Yes, I heard it.
Yeah, so...
Is that part of it?
So he carried
yes,
on.
I heard that.
He was walking up and down the aisle, you know, asserting his presence while he was bawling all this out. So everyone's just like, oh, fuck, you know, who's this prick? So he's really trying to assert his authority in a big way. Anyway, he sort of comes around and puts a fucking box in front of you or something for you to relinquish all your personal weapons, knives, pistols, shotguns, and all those sort of things that we're all likely to be carrying in our shorts.
Yeah.
I don't know. A few things got handed in. I think, you know, pocket knife or whatever. But anyway, then it's like, now I want all your fucking medications. I don't give a fuck what they are. Headache tablets, pimple cream. I want them now. You know, so that was the next thing. So if you had any sort of medications or ointments or salves of any sort.
Yeah.
Anything medicinal of any nature at all had to be surrendered. So he sort of collects all that, and I think probably leaves with a stern warning that if anyone, you know, didn't give anything up and they found with it later, you know, they'd be dealt with in the severest possible ways. You know, they're always full of these sort of threats. You know, he gets off the bus, and then I think we continue up somewhere else and sort of told to get out, and we shamble out, and then I think it's the classic scene then where the instructors come out and they sort of line us all up, you know. And I think we got all lined up. There was still no one around. That was a weird thing. There was fucking no one around at all on the base. It was still light, although it was pretty good. It was like 6:30, 7 p.m. And I think, it's the classic ball out there. I don't remember them going too much to town on us. Maybe they did. I don't remember that very clearly. I'd have to go into a hypnotic state to remember that bit, son.
What bit?
Because it's all in there. The bit where we first got off and met got lined up, you know, and got in sort of talked to and bawled at and whatnot by our platoon staff. See, because we were all one platoon. We were three In fact, we were 3 platoon. We were a single platoon, but we were designated as 3 platoon A company, 1 RTB. So there was about 50 or so of us. So first getting off the bus and getting lined up and meeting some of the platoon staff, the sergeant. You had one sergeant, several corporals, who were the most hands-on instructors for most of the time. There was one for each section, and there was a section comprised 10 to 12 men, and there were 4 sections, I think. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that sounds right. Yep. And then you had, so your corporals, your sergeant, and your platoon commander, who was the lieutenant. So I guess we met them. I don't think we met them all then. We met some of them then, and we were sort of marched off straight down to. I don't think they had as much time as they normally had, because we'd arrived late, and they marched us straight off down to the mess to get fed, because suddenly we're in the system and they've got to make sure people are fed and got one thing and another at certain times. So we go in. There's still no one around in the mess. It's completely empty because we're there much later than normal times, and they give us a meal. I don't think much else happens before we're told to sort of square our shit away and fuck off to bed. We're allocated sleeping spaces and your roommates and that sort of thing. There was 4 people to a room. There's just the buildings were a great big long central hallway from one end almost completely to the other end, and off each side were doors. Behind each door was a room housed 4 people.
Yeah.
4 sleeping spaces. You had to divide it down the middle of the room, sort of half divided the room, so it's 2 on each side. So you had your beds and in parallel, and then your lockers in front of you, and a horrible little metal table and chair and a towel rack. And I think that was it. That was it for your living space. The bed was just this really basic iron single bunk type thing. Yeah, hard floor. Anyway, I'm not going to go into all the massive details, son, but...
oh, thank God. I mean, you've just described what is normally called a barracks, but...
Oh, well, but they had them in different configurations. So, like, we went to different bases and they looked differently, but there was a couple of levels like that. So down the end were the ablutions block and officers and that sort of thing, but staff office. But that was just giving you an idea of what it was, son.
Yeah, no, good. Continue, please.
Well, first thing, they really got into very, very early on all the abuse and the fact that, we're here, we're the gods now, and you're just shit, and you're going to do what we say when we say it. If we say jump, you say fucking how high and nothing else. All that sort of stuff.
Uh-huh.
So that came very, very early and very quickly, and it came the closer the people who were sort of training you to you, the more level of abuse there was. So that meant the corporate instructors, right, who were doing there were a lot of other specialist instructors too throughout the 3 months who were there, but they were the ones that were in your platoon and your section leader and principally responsible for your progress through to the end. And they delivered a lot of the direct training themselves with weapons, drill, and fitness, although there were specialist PT instructors too for fitness. But you did go on a lot of runs with them and all sorts of other horrendous physical torture over the obstacle courses and all that. That was all with your platoon staff. So they're the ones that really abuse you the most, because they're the ones always hanging around even when you got back into the barracks. They were always there giving you shit, shouting at you, sort of shouting in your face, and you had to stand at attention while they did all this. And the only response you could have is yes, corporal or no corporal. That was pretty much it. So that was all established very, very early, all that sort of behaviour. It's a far cry now from what they do these days in recruit training or anything else in the army. It's all about softly, PC, mixed platoons, I believe, mixed gender platoons. So there was none of that then. This was all male platoon. But as an aside, the very, very first platoon of female recruits did turn up while we were already there. So that would have been early 1985. But we weren't mixed platoon, it was just all females, and they were housed in a completely sort of separate block further away on the base to anyone else. So there was a very, very much segregation. But I believe that was the very, very first for the Australian Army. Anyway, we didn't see much of them other than occasionally in the mess. And the corporal said to us, "So you can look, but you can't touch." I remember that talk after they first got there. But yeah, there was really no opportunity to fraternise anyway. And from the one look I did get off them in the mess, I don't know if I would have been inclined to fraternise.
Bush pigs.
Yeah, they weren't sort of cultured, sophisticated, or good-looking women. Let's just say.
They weren't the mother of your children.
I think there was one exception, a young blondie there, which pretty much everyone looked at, if anyone looked at anyone at all, I think. By the time you put them in, the same, the greens, we didn't even have camo back in those days. It was just greens like they wore in Vietnam. By the time you put even good-looking women and all that sort of get up, visually speaking, things aren't that appealing. But anyway,